Class is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Longevity Plus and Dr. Gary Gordon do not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment through this webinar. The content of this webinar, such as text, graphics, images, and other material contained within, are for informational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have read, heard, or seen in the webinar. Longevity Plus would like to thank you for joining our webinar today, entitled A World Without Cancer, Healing Electron Deficiency, with Dr. Gary F. Gordon. Dr. Gordon is known the world over as the father of chelation. An expert on nutrition, mineral metabolism, and anti-aging, he is a consultant to Longevity Plus, where he is responsible for designing effective natural supplements that help to detoxify the body and support optimal health. During today's webinar, you will learn how cancer is preventable and curable, regardless of family history or genetic predisposition. Dr. Gordon will be reviewing electron deficiency, how it underlies most diseases, including cancer, and how a powerful, energy-based, magnetically induced cellular exercise therapy, or MICE, is healing and restoring the body's natural life force. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gary Gordon.
Good morning, everyone. This is an important topic since this disease is right behind heart disease as the leading killer in our country. I, as the co-founder of ACAM, and is what they call often the founder of chelation therapy, have been lucky enough to eliminate in my patients fatal heart attacks virtually entirely, even when they have serious advanced disease, with an oral chelation and a total diet and exercise program. So having found that we can handle the problem of eliminating fatal heart attacks and strokes without surgery, I became interested in this whole field of cancer. And what we find going on today is that we are all suffering with absolutely the wrong information. And part of that is due to not having the right physics to explain how our universe functions, so the net result is things that really work, like positive thinking and chi and energy and subtle energy and prayer and acupuncture and homeopathy. Those things that really work are left at by mainstream, so the poor patient's not knowing what else to do. And since the chemo radiation surgery is all covered by insurance and the alternative comes out of your pocket, and it would seem that they must be the right treatment, people often don't get involved in what those of us in complementary, alternative, integrative medicine do, and they don't come to us until it's pretty late. We are still able to help, and if you come to us with total advanced cancer that's already in your lung, your bones, your liver, we still have a far better success rate than what, for example, was on the news yesterday on the PBS channel. They had University of California, Davis, talking about what really would sound exciting, personalized cancer care by analyzing your tumor to find out what's unique about your tumor. And they presented a dramatic case of a lung cancer patient with widespread metastases who, using a drug, may have actually extended her lifespan by, they think, up to 5 years before the drug will stop working. So it's good to know that they are doing better, and that's promising because they're personalizing the approach rather than this nonsense that has been called evidence-based medicine, which is the lowest possible denominator. Why do I say that? Well, if you wind up in evidence-based medicine and if you give everybody aspirin, they know they'll do more damage than good, but they can select out, if you already have high incidence of likelihood of a blood clot, then they do less damage, and they'll give you the aspirin on a daily basis, realizing that some people will die from aspirin because you bleed internally. So everything is what we call the benefit to risk ratio, but you're not getting that kind of health care. And I'm going to try to make sure today that you understand that rather than analyzing your tumor, I prefer to analyze you. And it's a lot cheaper and it's available today. So I try to make you very tough because we have many, many factors that are making it hard for us to live to our maximum intended useful lifespan. And since I'm now 77 and I'm getting younger by the month with the program that I started to go into last week, on last week's webinar, which is available for your review at your leisure by going to my website, gordonresearch.com, and listen for 1 hour and 55 minutes when I changed many people's lives by putting together the new physics that is a unifying concept that we'll get into today. But in this talk today, we're going to cover briefly the fact that most of you know that you're all toxic, but nobody's got the money to send your blood to Mount Sinai School of Medicine because it costs $4,900 to measure just 220 chemicals. And if you really want to know everything that's unique about you, read the book The Experimental Man by William Duncan, and you will find that for $500,000 I can really tell you some interesting things about you, but we don't have that kind of money, do we? So since you know that you're toxic, I'll go through that rapidly. And genetically modified food that we've all fallen into eating, including the corn oil that's helping kill you because it's giving inflammation, so we all have to have omega-3 oil. You have to take a supplement today just to fight back against the really sad diet we call the standard American diet. But modern medicine is giving you a drug when you have depression. They're giving you a drug for everything, and the drug is admittedly another poison. You drink the bottle and you'll be dead, so you know the drug isn't really your friend, but it masks the symptoms. So the bottom line is you take a poisoned person, and rather than finding out why did you develop cancer at age 20, 30, or 40, what they wind up doing is they wind up adding another poison to an already poisoned body. Nobody's fixing what's wrong, like find out what you did wrong in your diet and why you weren't exercising. So it's when cells aren't communicating with each other that cancers can develop, because you see cells normally get a signal from the adjacent cell that says, hey, don't move over here because there's no more space, but they lose cell-cell communication because of electron deficiency, which I covered for 1 hour and 55 minutes last week. So when you get this concept that electron deficiency is behind what's wrong and that vitamin C is an electron donor, you would expect that it could help you, and it will. There's abundant research proving a higher level of vitamin C is going to help, but it's kind of expensive, and you can't take enough to really do the miracles that it does. At 100 grams, it does miracles given in the vein every day. So we want to teach you what you can do short of having to have vitamin C in the vein every day in 100-gram doses. And part of the problem is the Earth has changed because we're going through changes. You know, Mars is a dead planet. It has no magnetic field at all. And our magnetic field is weakening. So if you lived on Mars, you wouldn't live because you'd be dead unless you were tied to a device like the PEMF that we will describe today. So the loss of the magnetic field, we've lost about 98% of the field we had at the time of dinosaur, is one reason no one is operating as efficiently or optimally today as those of us who are lucky enough to have access to a special form of exercise called magnetically induced cellular exercise, which requires the use of a device like a PEMF form called PMT100, and you'll learn more about that in the lecture today. So I want you to know that if you already have widespread prostate cancer that's in your bones and your lungs, or breast cancer, etc., I want you to know that we have the privilege of knowing most of the leading alternative centers in the world, including those in Germany, as well as in America, Mexico, etc. And there is always a better choice than the one that's covered by your insurance, which is the one with chemoradiation surgery, because that one is guaranteed not to work forever, because if you look at the data, most of the chemo that we give most people only extends your lifespan 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you spend 50 or 100,000. Maybe it's taxpayer money, who cares? But if it's taking away your body's last hope, which is to have a healthy body, because your body can solve these problems if you understand how your body became suboptimal because of our incredibly deficient diet that doesn't give anywhere near the amount of vitamin D, and then they tell you not to go out in the sun, and the picture gets more and more complex. But we will give you some good news at the end, and that will be how we can perhaps lump a few people together and wind up leasing a machine for $500 a month so that all of us can have access to the really powerful form of magnetic treatment that can change lives. So if we understand what we're saying, this is clear. We all know that we're polluted. You didn't know that there's a brilliant physicist trained at MIT and then at Princeton who stayed in the area of actually fusion. Cold fusion could be the solution to the energy needs of the Earth without having to depend on oil at all. But this really incredibly talented physicist, Dr. Claude Swanson, these two books have helping change my life because he gives the science as to why these things that we don't understand, the chi, the prana, the life force, why remote viewing and prayer and positive thinking and acupuncture and homeopathy are working so well, because he's brought together the physics. So the theory of relativity and quantum mechanics has a hole in the middle, and that hole is the explanation for how chi, or subtle energies, have the power to save our lives. And you'll see more as we go into this. And these two books combined will cost you $29 for the Life Force and $24 for the other one from Amazon. And I recommend that you get it because you can now argue with your doctor, who's, after all, in the practice of medicine. And the practice of medicine is that patients help educate doctors. And this book has 500 references in the 700 pages, and you read it and you'll understand how healers work. It will be rather astonishing what you are going to learn when you get these books. So, is it string theory? Is it particles? Is it unified theory? Where did Einstein miss it? What's the story? This excellent quick overview will allow you to understand that an electron revolving upon an atomic nucleus is connected to a wave train, and when you get into this, you will be able to understand why we can solve the problems of a poisoned Earth with an economy that's absolutely out of control, with greed running every politician. We can actually, with consciousness raising, change things. But it all comes back to the electron, and most people don't know very much about electrons. So we're going to let you read some of this presentation, which will be up on my website in a few days, so that you can have the opportunity to review at greater time, because I have a lot of material to present today. And I mentioned briefly in the opening statement that cells are supposed to talk to the cell next to them and communicate. And it's the failure to have that cell-cell communication that allows the cancer to ignore the fact that there's no room for it to double in size and double and keep growing. And it ignores it. And it was part of this interesting thing that when I worked with Cleve Baxter, who was the gentleman that really developed the whole idea of lie detector, and he was the one that showed me that he could take a philodendron leaf, and the philodendron leaf would respond to the cutting of a leaf of another plant in the room, or your blood cells can respond to bad news given to the owner of those blood cells, who may be 40 miles away and all we have is a tube of their blood. So there is things going on that we've never really understood, but Cleve Baxter was actually the inventor of the polygraph. So there's things going on that our physics never explained, and we just ignored it. But because we ignored it, we have all these doctors telling you there's no other treatment. Well, that's within their system, and their system is extremely faulty because there's a hole between the general theory of relativity and quantum mechanics, and that hole is solved by understanding consciousness. And this whole presentation to you today is exciting to me because this book actually covers pulsed electromagnetic field as well as just microcurrent therapy. It's exciting to know that all existing electrons and protons are actually connected to one another. It really says here that we really are all one. And when you get into this book, it will explain why prayer is absolutely not to be challenged. It really works. How can we amplify it? What are the things that, if I give you a treatment with a cold laser, which is very useful, or a microelectric, would it help more if I had you in a magnetic field? The answer is yes, but it's all because we need to plug it into this whole idea of conscious creation, where we take the law of gravity, the law of energy, and come up with the law of observation. In other words, the doctors in mainstream medicine absolutely laugh at those of us in alternative medicine because they say these are just anecdotal stories. The fact that that patient came into you with a black leg that needed to be amputated and we gave him chelation and he didn't have to have it, that's anecdotal. It's amazing how anything is anecdotal that they don't want to believe because it doesn't fit their current mode of thinking, and there's no money in it for them because they're not about to get out of their mode of thinking. So doctors routinely are telling all cancer patients, whatever you do, don't take any vitamins or don't take vitamin C, and it is all hocus pocus, bad misinformation from doctors who have not been motivated enough to learn what you will have if you choose to buy one of these $29 books with 500 references that can really tell these doctors that they're on the wrong thing. They aren't keeping up with the fact that everything in the energy is made up, in the universe is made up of energy. And atoms contain electrons, protons, neutrons, and energy follows thought. So what you think is really important. So Dr. Bruce Lipton, his book here, Spontaneous Evolution, is one of my favorite books of all time. And if you have the slightest inclination to want to think your way through how could we as mankind change the earth with positive thinking, this book will explain it to you. So I really think you may want to get the book, because if you go to the next step, the genie in your genes, we know in one book that's clear that epigenetics means above genetics. So if you are a lady that's got a BRCA1 or BRCA2, or you're somebody in a family where everybody has gastric carcinoma, and today these incompetent doctors are telling you to have both breasts removed and take out your ovaries, well, it's such nonsense, because the gene only expresses when the environment produces that outcome, and you can change the environment with your thought processes and your diet and your exercise. So we did prove with Dr. Kobayashi in Tokyo in a 10-year study involving almost 10,000 people that the Sun Moon Church helped us get these people to come in annually to have their blood tests done, that even if they had, everybody in the family had gastric carcinoma, which is pretty common in Japan, that none of the people in the 10-year study that we did developed a clinically detectable tumor, although every one of you listening to me at this point in time actually have cancer. But our trick is to have a healthy body, so the cancer is always snuffed out. The cancer has to induce suicide, apoptosis. We'll explain more as you go into it, but it's really important to know that it is the environment that is going to allow the expression of the gene, and even if you have bad genes, they do not have to express. And my friend Dr. Jeffrey Bland, who's doing wonderful work helping the Institute for Functional Medicine, bringing more and more really good doctors and leading them out of their narrow thinking into the new medicine that we call functional medicine. And I will be talking a little bit more about how his leadership is helping doctors wake up to how it's the environmental signals that determine whether or not you develop that breast cancer. So we don't care if you have BRCA1, BRCA2, it's all nonsense. If we optimize your environment, which means all aspects of diet and exercise, lifestyle, detoxification, as you'll see when you learn my FIGHT program, which has now become Fight 'em with Mice. And you'll see why I say that in a moment. The power of the heart's electromagnetic field. It turns out that we can measure a membrane potential, essentially a charge, like a fully charged battery. Well, this is a more powerful battery than any of the other cells in your body, because it has a millivolt charge of about 120, whereas the rest of your cells in your body are about 70 millivolts. But when you lose that charge and it goes down too low, and it gets down as low as 15 or below 30, then you go into cancer. So it's interesting that the heart then always stays around 120 until you die. And so how does it have that energy? How can it be such a fully charged battery? Well, you'll see it's the toxins that, of course, knock it down, and, of course, you get a sick heart. But we've learned that we don't even have to do heart transplants on people who are lucky enough to learn our approach. We have a lady who was supposed to have a heart transplant. She was in heart failure, and she used the pulsed electromagnetic field and good nutrition. And my friend, Dr. Stephen Sinatra, has a book out with Dr. Roberts called Reversing Heart Disease. And he tells you about many, many cases that didn't need the heart transplant, and it's so boring to me. I cancel bypass on any patient. I don't care how blocked your arteries are. It's nonsense. I used to be in radiology, and a blocked appearing artery is often not blocked at all if you test it with a PET scan. It just appears blocked, but it's got tiny circulation around the blockage. So most of medicine today, when I do a consultation on a patient and I help you optimize your health, I'm pretty reluctant to let you do anything like a stent or a bypass because I don't need it since it's been over 20 years and I haven't had a patient die of a heart attack or stroke. Why would I take any chance of letting him cut on you? But this is going back to the electromagnetic field, and the electromagnetic field is helping us learn how to deal with the toxic environment, because the air we breathe, the food you eat, I don't care where you go, the air absolutely is loaded with particulates of lead and mercury and other toxins, because when we burn the coal, it goes up the chimney and it settles 10,000 miles away, so it comes around the earth and settles on you, even if it's the burning of coal in China. You can't avoid it because you're born with a lot of these toxins. And China is certainly contributing to it, but we get even. We send our bad air back to them. But the pollutants are in your tap water. And, of course, we've all been drinking bottled water. We thought it was brilliant, and now we all have poisoning from the phthalates, the plastics that are in that bottle, and the bisphenol A, which you will see is provable. If we take any one of you listening to me at this moment, you cannot pass this test. You fail, everybody. No one's ever passed it. What's the test? 20 tubes of your blood, a check for $4,900, Mount Sinai School of Medicine measures and tells you that you have average 134 chemicals that cause cancer the day you're born. We have 186 chemicals that cause infertility, so guess what? I've only been practicing medicine 53 years. So 53 years ago, what do you think the average sperm count was? It was 160 million. What do you think you're lucky to find today? 40 million. What happened to all the other 120 million sperm? They just weren't made because the testicle is like your thyroid. It's loaded with all these toxins. That's why so many people have no energy today, because you have the fluorinated water and all these toxins. It's so sad that they take an autistic child and they say, we have no idea why he's autistic. Of course, they wouldn't dare admit that it's what the big agriculture is doing by putting these pesticides and insecticides and chemicals in everything we eat, and now genetically modified food. I mean, it's not that hard to figure it out. And then we take these people who are not very healthy, because our diet is really very, very marginal. It gives you calories, so you're obese, but you don't feel good. You don't think well. And then we say, oh, well, we're going to take care of you with the simple thing of a vaccination. Read on my website, and you will never take any of today's vaccines, including HPV or flu vaccine. You won't take them when you read on my website, because we have the proof that the benefit of these vaccines is so small and the risk is so large unless you happen to be 100% totally healthy. But I just showed you the average blood test on everybody has neurotoxins, carcinogens on everybody. So who is healthy? Nobody. But is there a way around it? Yes. If the government would stop subsidizing the vaccine companies so that if you die after you get your flu shot, the drug company pays nothing. If we would take that away, the drug companies would actually develop vaccines that could be life-saving and even help us eliminate cancer, because cancer is multifactorial, as you'll see. This tells you enough about genetically modified food. If you read this and you understand it, you'll understand that how we modified the food was we made the food carry its own pesticides so that it would kill all the nasty bugs that were in the field. Well, of course, the nasty bugs figured a way around that, but you're stuck with still getting the pesticide, and it's in the food that you eat. It's called Bacillus thuringiensis, and it's in the bloodstream of everybody. And pregnant ladies, etc., you're all walking around with a pesticide, courtesy of Monsanto. They claimed that it was going to change the world, but what's happened is now we have crops that need more and more chemicals because the bugs have just gotten more powerful. So this explains why you have so much problem with your immune system, can't identify and kill all the cancer cells. We all develop some cancer every day, but it's not a big deal. We should have DNA repair mechanisms, and we repair it, and it shouldn't be a big deal. But we have a leaky gut. The intestinal wall gets torn because guess how Bacillus thuringiensis works? It tears up the guts of the insects, so they die. And guess what it does to you? It tears up your guts, and guess what you happen? You start to learn that every food you eat doesn't agree with you, and you see everybody running to find gluten-free food, dairy-free food, casein-free, get off the dairy, get off the gluten. Of course, but whatever you switch to, you can become deathly allergic to the macrobiotic. I don't care what food you go to. We have people that can't eat carrots. How come? Because the body has to process the food completely down to amino acids and peptides and fatty acids and carbohydrates, and it can't go into your bloodstream still looking like a cow, because if it's got anything that looks like a piece of beef and it isn't just an amino acid, your body sees it as a foreign invader, and it wastes its energy trying to protect you because your gut wasn't working properly. So I need to give you new skin in your gut, and I will do that. Give you a brand new lining for this. And so the skin on the outside of your body is what people judge you, how old you are. They look at me at age 77, they say, he doesn't look too bad. But the thing is, I'm more interested in what does I look like on the inside, and that's why I have everybody on my unique detox drink. And when you understand at the end of this lecture how the zeolite and the vitamin C and the hydrogen, which is electron, can give you healthy skin inside, so you don't have all these foods getting into your body before they are fully processed and able to be used for building blocks to make new cells, because you lose cells every day. So the bottom line is the DNA isn't your destiny. What they're trying to tell all these people with BRCA1, BRCA2 to have their breasts off and their ovaries out is simply not understanding the entire picture. And what we know is during the 9 months that you are in the womb of the mom, if that lady is not lucky enough to be on my zeolite, vitamin C, and on the H-, what's happening is the toxins are leaving her body and being concentrated in the baby. So those results that I showed you on the average blood test are showing that there's 1,000 times more lead in the bone, for example, of every child when born than we had just 700 years ago. So we are concentrating during the pregnancy, and then the baby comes out and can't talk and has autism, learning disorders, has leukemia, has asthma, and we sit there and we use drugs. We use drugs. 1 out of 4 children today in school is on a drug. Why? Because nobody told the mom how to go through the pregnancy with Dr. Gordon's handy-dandy program that would catch the toxins and put them in her urine and feces and leave her body and do some sweating rather than have all the toxins concentrated in her baby. So do we know all this is true? Well, Randy Journal at Duke has been famous enough that PBS did a documentary on him called Ghosting Your Genes. And they pointed out that when you simply warm the water for the little nice, healthy brown mice, these agouti mice, you warm their water in a typical baby bottle that mothers use to feed their babies, and you warmed it in a microwave, and that one thing given to that mom let all of her offspring become yellow and obese and diabetic like all of America is. And it turned out that that simple application of the bisphenol A, the plastic hardener the FDA tried to say is good for you. It looks like the FDA is owned by the drug companies, Monsanto, and the aspartame that's killing everybody, the artificial sweeteners. When you understand what's going on, you'll know that it really is frightening. But we did wind up then showing that what you are getting in the food that is wrapped with a bisphenol A and plastic, and we have it in so many places in our diet, is enough to cause your genes overnight to change, so all of your offspring will have diabetes and obesity. So that's only proved to happen to animals, but we do have a country with a lot of obesity, and I will get into that a little bit more. So here's what's going to happen to people in 8 years. This lady could look like that. This man could look like that in 3 years. This lady changed like that in 4 years. And so what is going on? I mean, how could anybody age that much in 7 years? It doesn't seem possible, but it is possible. And you're not going to cure it with the medicine that the government gives you. So when you get it on your Medi-Cal and you get it on welfare and you get it on Medicare, you're just getting more poison because the prescription never is addressing the cause. So the cause is what I teach, which is fight them with mice, which we'll cover again. So these chronic diseases are now the world's biggest killer, and you have people living in poverty because their income is going to treat with these expensive, ridiculous drugs that aren't curing anything. If you would read up on it, Ralph Moss has a great website, MOSS, and he tries to explain to you that most of these $50,000 and $100,000 treatments that they tell you, oh, we have a great treatment. Yeah, they have some success stories, but I'd be embarrassed to have such few success stories, and I will show you documentation that those of you who are lucky enough to not get sucked into their chemoradiation and their surgery. I have nothing against surgery when it's correctly done to a healthy patient who's first been on my nutrition building and detoxifying program, so they have no complication from the surgery, because I don't like people dying on the table, and I don't like people losing all their memory because they had needless heart surgery and stuff when nobody needed that bypass. It's all completely run by greed. If you learn the truth, I repeat, I take on patients all the time who have advanced heart disease, told that they're going to die in 2 weeks or a heart attack waiting to happen, and I just dismiss it because it's all bad information. The oral chelation, 9 pills called BCI, makes your blood thin like wine, so it's not thick like ketchup, so it won't clot excessively, and excessive clots are what cause heart attacks and strokes. So preventable disease is where I'm at. But now we have an epidemic of 100 new diseases, which include everything from multiple sclerosis to myasthenia gravis to lupus, and even things like autism. And this lady was totally paralyzed twice with Guillain-Barré. Now, she wasn't lucky enough to know about us because we have a lady with 8 years in a wheelchair with Guillain-Barré, and we treated her with PEMF, and in 2 months she walked into church on her own power. Why? What happened? Well, this lovely lady has done a great job in her book. I recommend for anybody because her doctors are at Johns Hopkins, and she even got a director of NIH to endorse her book. But what's her book? Her book is what I wrote my FIGHT program on. My FIGHT program was to teach you that if you address the food, the infection, the genetics, the heavy metals, hormone toxin, you can get rid of the disease, and you don't have to be on their exotic drugs for life. So to keep you informed, I, in the car, only listen to Sirius Satellite Channel 81, and I can hear, for example, the Department of Oncology at NYU Medical Center answering questions from the public all day long. And you can hear more honest answer because I think that a lot of the answers people are getting from their oncologists are not full, adequate answers. And prove that. Everybody who talks to me, I turn on a tape recorder and I give you the recording. So I state exactly what is the fact, and I don't get sued for malpractice, and I'm still licensed in the state of Arizona as a doctor of homeopathic integrative medicine. So my point is, do you think you could walk into anybody else at the office, these oncologists, they're going to tell you how great their chemo is and say, Doc, with other people that have my exact same cancer, how many of you have got them alive 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? So that's where I push the button. So it's good to know that you can go to Dr. Radio and you can actually call in yourself and get a free consultation, and it's able to be recorded. So they tend to tell a lot more truth. So it's a good trick to listen to the radio on Sirius Satellite, which you can get on any computer. Because you see, this is a former director of the New England Journal of Medicine, Dr. Marcia Angel, and she's telling you that these guys are so on the take. There is so much greed, and doctors are all involved in researching the drug that they're writing about, and so you're not getting the truth. Her book is pretty much a fact. But you see, the doctors are told, you have to practice evidence-based medicine. You can't do what Dr. Gordon says. Dr. Gordon treats everybody with vitamin C. That's got to be nonsense. Well, that's interesting. But what happens is when they do evidence-based medicine, it falls down to the least likely to be what you need if you did your individual genes. So I treat you. And the gene test now is $425 for 72 genes, but I'll tell you really which foods your body handles efficiently, Because some people out there do better on an Atkins diet, and some people do better on the Pritikin diet. And your doctor is 100% influenced by what works for him, not recognizing that you are unique and only by spending $425 and getting a little saliva into a container that I send you, can you send that off and a month later have a report that will change your life forever, because you'll know that 40% of you are not getting rid of the toxins because the genes have been damaged by the drinking out of those plastic bottles, and the genes therefore are not methylating, and without CH3 methyl groups, you don't pull out the dioxin and the PCBs and lead and mercury normally, and the net result is you're not detoxing. It's called a methylation defect, and you have to be on my vitamin C with methylsulfonomethane and trimethylglycine, and you need to be on sublingual methyl B12 and methylfolic acid, but you don't learn this without doing the gene test, so you won't spend the money, because my supplements are expensive, because when I give you the right kind of folic acid, it costs us $15,000 a kilogram. When you buy the stuff that is not the methyl form of the folic acid, it costs $200. So it's not going to be in the stuff that you take. So my stuff is a little expensive. So obviously it would be nice if we could get around the high cost of what I take. Because what I take, I'll show you, I take virtually every known thing you can buy, because my genes were so bad. I was sick for so many years, and I didn't know then about the physics, and I only knew that you could heal a broken bone with a magnet. I didn't know I could heal a broken heart or a broken head. Now, my friend Dr. Jeffrey Bland used this in his lecture for the American College of Advancement in Medicine, ACAM, the organization I co-founded some 38 years ago. And he showed you that this patient, if you walk into all the offices in this country right now, they're going to sit there and say, well, you've just got diabetes. They're not even going to talk to you about the truth. The truth is you've got poisoning. And what's the poisoning? These are the tests. And any of these tests, if your homocysteine is over 11, if your C-reactive elevation is up, if your magnesium is low, if you have too many antibodies attacking your own body, like the epidemic we have of people whose thyroid is being destroyed by your own body, it's attacking your thyroid. It's an epidemic. We have so many people who need thyroid, and 1 out of 10 who need thyroid are getting it because they're using the wrong tests. So you're tired and you go through life and nothing's working right, and your eyes cold, your hair doesn't grow, your nails don't, but they tell you your tests are normal. So people are being wrong. But these tests, when you have a little bit elevation of A1C, the test that we use in diabetes, all of these are telling you really what's going on, especially the urinary microalbumin. What's going on is that you have persistent organic pollutants. What are those? That's dioxin, that's PBT, that's DDT, and dioxin and PCBs. I mean, they're in everybody, but I just said, why spend $4,900 with Mount Sinai School of Medicine since no one has ever passed the test, including Bill Moyer, that's on PBS television, that's been 100% organic eating, and Jim Lerner, who's with Commonwealth, people who actually faithfully try to eat 100% organic can't avoid the fact that you're still breathing air. And every time you're breathing in air, you're taking in lead and mercury. It's all documented. So we won't dwell on it. We'll just say that the problem then is that you get treated for your diabetes, and they give you insulin, and you still go blind. You wind up on renal dialysis. You lose your toes. They haven't helped you, but they think they're treating your diabetes with a drug, because they're not even looking at this whole idea that the reason that you have the so-called diabetes, impaired glucose metabolism, is that everything in your body is impaired because you have lead in your bones, and it's proven at Harvard Medical School the level of lead in your bone determines how soon you go blind, how soon you have a heart attack, but nobody's even talking about it. So they laugh at those of us who tell you that I'm on chelation every day of my life. I would never go off of my Beyond Chelation Improved and my fiber and the power drink, because I know how many toxins, because I'm busy, I'm on the road, I can't get to 100% organic food, and if it is organic, it still got fed by the rain that brought all that bad stuff into the ground. So there's no, you can run, but you can't hide. I don't care if you're at the Antarctic or Arctic, you all have problem, but if we can get these things, we put in one product, we give you glutathione to help your detoxification along with zeolite. We call it zeogold. But you're finding another thing you don't know about. This is the year that maybe the Earth's going to come to an end. That's different prophecies. But if you read it differently, some of the real positive things about it is that it might be leading us into a new age of enlightenment. Maybe things are going to get so bad that we have to accept the fact that the oil cartel doesn't need to run the Earth because they're steady after steady, that cold fusion without any pollution at all would run our entire lives with all the power we need. But as long as they have the greedy people running it, and as you know, everybody in Congress is provably on the take. And it's called Winner Take All, is a new book that just came out. And the top lobbyist that we put in jail was on an interview on C-SPAN yesterday at Harvard, telling how he wound up owning every one of our congressmen and how much money he put in their hand. And so it's prophecy. Maybe something's going to happen. I choose to believe spontaneous evolution with Bruce Lipton, that it could all lead to people waking up in the books that I'm telling you about, that the power of our mind, if enough of us wake up, it can be a new dawn of enlightenment. But as this book tells you, what's going on is simply a cycle, because 5,000 years ago we had the changes in the global, we had the climate change, etc. So this book is very powerful, and it tells you that 5,000 years ago we had a lot of wars, collapsing economy, overextended military, and sea level rise. But it's the same thing that went through, that led admittedly to the end of the Egyptian empire. But these are changes that occur. But it's got to be clear to you then that the Earth's magnetic field is unstable, and the North Pole has already moved 60 miles, and we're having to renumber our runways because this is going to happen, folks. It's real. So the prophecy has a little bit to do with it, in that maybe these changes are going to happen, because this tells you that in a flash, virtually, because we used to think that, you know, when Australia broke off of the main continent of Europe, that took hundreds of thousands of years for those kind of changes to occur. But this one says that the Nevada rocks suggest it could happen pretty fast. So we don't know. But we do know that if you monitor all 1,500 active volcanoes right now, you'll find they're remarkably active. And you can prove with NASA's own measurements that the Earth field was 5 Gauss, and we're down to 0.5 Gauss. So we've lost 90% of the magnetic energy that it takes to run your body, because without magnetism, as I repeat, you move to Mars, you're dead. And if you're out in space, all your bones melt away unless you are tied to a PEMF device. So why do we need magnetism? Because magnetism makes all of the other things work better, because there is no interchange of electrons between the nutrients that we eat and the oxygen we inhale unless it's in a magnetic field. So we have lots of experiments that show that we living beings are dependent and sensitive to these changes that are going on. So as the Earth's magnetic field collapses, our immune system isn't knocking out our cancers as easily as it used to, or controlling infection. So now they try to tell you we'll all die of an infection, there'll be a plague coming back, so whatever, we know there's problems. But if you feel really good and you have a lot of energy, that's because the engine inside of your cells is called the mitochondria. It's the motor of every cell, and you have about at least 200 of these if you're exercising in a single heart muscle cell. If you're not exercising, you don't have so many motors. But these motors have to take the oxygen and the nutrients that you eat, and they've got to convert it into energy called ATP. And so we have a nation that is really in decline, because a lot of us are really tired and we don't have the power. And we can prove to you that we can change that if I just get the lead out. But I repeat, when you're born, there's 1,000 times too much lead in your bones, and you can't suck it all out by going to a spa for a weekend. It's a lifetime program of being on oral chelating every day of your life. And meanwhile, the food that you eat isn't what you want it to be, and we're all getting the wrong kind of oils. The corn oil, soy oil is really not good for us, and you're beginning to get the picture that you have to be on the omega-3. You'll see there's a lot here to learn. And so what would be cheaper if we could just hook ourselves, if we could put our finger in the power socket of our house? Is there a way to get electrons? Well, yes, microelectric current is helping people, particularly if they happen to be treated simultaneously with a magnetic field. But we need everybody to know that I am regenerating the cells in my body, because I take a little loop and put it around my ankle when it needs replacing, or around my head when I need a new brain, or around my eyes, or across the board. It's because I regenerate. The body is able to do it. So even if they tell you your shoulder's hopeless, we're going to operate on your knee, they're full of hot air. Try my program first, and you'll be amazed how many people don't need that knee replaced, that hip replaced, that shoulder, that heart replaced, or that kidney replaced. So I'm into the regeneration stuff. And disruption of electromagnetic energy is one of the things that lets the cell not, you could be swallowing magnesium, it doesn't mean it's getting into the cell. So sometimes I have to have you see one of our doctor friends and take some things in the vein called Meyer cocktail. Sometimes I want, if you really call me when you're in deep trouble, I want you to see some of I have 3,000 doctor colleagues who belong to my discussion group called FACT, and any doctor can join at no cost and see how we treat autism or breast cancer, prostate cancer, or allergy or asthma or anything. But one of the things you're learning today is electrons are an overlooked key part of the puzzle. And so since I love the improvement that I got in my life from the day Linus Pauling taught me that I needed to be on high doses of vitamin C, and he's a double Nobel Prize winner, he showed that you could prevent most flus and prevent most cancers. But since then, the Earth's gotten more and more polluted, so now I have to add hydrogen to the drink called H-, and I need to tie up the bad guys that are knocking all over. So we have all these things that are causing us to be too acid, and they keep telling you, try to eat an alkaline diet, but they don't tell you that it's almost impossible because you can't metabolize things efficiently. And if you are sensitive to a food that you eat, even if it's a good food, it becomes a problem for you. So I have everybody eating a rotated diet. Every 4 days, don't eat the same food daily, whatever it is. Start to learn to eat. But the bottom line is, when you are acid, you get cancer. Because in an acid environment, you cannot release the oxygen, the hemoglobin, to feed the cell. So I give you electrons, and that's what we'll be discussing. So that we have these many symptoms of electron deficiency, allergies, autoimmune. These are digestive problems. Everybody has, they all think they have too much acid, and they take all these Nexium and all these drugs, and all they're going to do is shorten your lifespan, because without acid in your stomach, all your food becomes toxic, and you have a toxic intestine that's poisoning you. And so it's so sad that we're just having so much resistance to the new medicine. But it's my belief that when you read the books that I started this presentation with by Claude Swanson, and buy them and spend $50 and have a couple of pages and give it to your doctor or your best friend who still thinks that the the world is flat, because that's what they believe if they believe in allopathic medicine. So what do we have? We have 10% of the population taking an antidepressant. We now have FDA approving a pulsed electromagnetic field device called NeuroStar, which you can buy for $60,000. You can get treatment at UCLA, Stanford, and Yale, so you can be treated. But they don't teach you how to improve the diet and get off the wrong oils and get the right oils, because you change lives, your brain, your joints, your heart, when you get omega-3 and magnesium and vitamin C. So there's so much we have to learn. So these electron deficiency, these are the diseases that are bankrupting our nation, which is why I'm a little upset about it, because I'd like America to not become a third world nation, and we're certainly going in that direction. And part of it is because we spend millions of dollars on the wrong medicine, which is doing very little. And how do you expect to really cure somebody's cancer if you don't even ask the patient what they eat, and you don't even try to find out? Peter D'Adamo wrote a good book to, Eat Right for Your Blood Type, and that was the beginning. That was, kindergarten. What I do today with the advanced 72 gene test is way advanced. But anything that starts to recognize that we are all different, because Atkins liked his diet, and some people like that, and some people like Pritikin, and you put the wrong diet in the wrong people, nothing works right. It's like you have a gasoline car and you try to put diesel in it, it'll be dead in 5 feet. So you've got to learn these things. So the markers that the doctor could look at, if your albumin is low, if your fibrinogen is high, if your melandialdehyde, and I'll show you how easy that is to do. Melandialdehyde is just one of these many tests that I'm going to show you. Your albumin is low. What I'm trying to teach you here is this. Your doctor is seeing these tests, but he's not tying it to what's wrong. He's just giving you a drug and says you've got this wrong or that wrong. He's never trying to figure out what's wrong. And the oxidation reduction is physics. And all of us doctors didn't like a course in physics anyhow, with few exceptions. So the thing is, you've got to be on the vitamin A, the C, the E, the lipoic acid, the coenzyme Q. You've got to be getting in these tricks to try to help us improve the environment in which your cell is trying desperately to take the oxygen you breathe and to take and get the nutrients, because we all need calories, and wind up giving you the energy so you can do what you're on Earth to do. Now you'll see the bottom line is this little thing leaving your body is this malondialdehyde, and those are toxins that are released, and the things that get oxidized are the membranes of your cells. And so this simple test that I will discuss, which I am an expert at changing better than anyone else has changed it when I teach you what I'm showing, means that I've slowed dramatically how fast you're dying. Let me repeat what I just said. When we test your air, as I'll show you, for how much malondialdehyde, those are what we call free radicals that are coming out in their peroxide, they're lipid peroxides, they're fats that are supposed to be in the membranes of your cell, keeping your cells operating efficiently, but these are cells that are dumping out and losing the good guy cholesterol. They tell you cholesterol is the bad guy. I have nobody on statins. It's quackery. And I don't use statin on anybody, and I haven't had a patient die of a heart attack in over 25 years, so I might be doing what's right. But the malondialdehyde, you can test and see how rapidly your body's breaking down, and if I can slow down on how fast you're breaking down, I've made you live longer. And so my program is Fight 'em with Mice. And this is not too complicated. It's food, infection, genetics, heavy metal, hormone toxins, and exercise, as well as energy, helped by magnetism, and that's magnetically induced cellular exercise. So food, infection, genetics, heavy metal, hormone toxins. There's an 18-page document on my website that you can read anytime, download, give to your friends. We have taken a lot of effort to try to explain to you, because it's complicated, because everybody has leaky gut, and it's hard to figure out which foods are killing you. If you can't figure it out, just don't eat a food that you've eaten in the last 3 months. If you learn to eat triticale, amaranth, or kiwi, or you get watermelon, or you get the papaya, if it's a food you haven't eaten in 3 months, but try to rotate. Don't just jump to rutabagas and think you can live on rutabagas because you haven't been eating them, because you'll get sensitive to that, because you got to fix the gut. I got to give you new skin in your gut, which means you'll be on my initially the detox drink, and later we'll add more to it so it becomes a power drink. But you won't be able to do all that because we don't do anything to spend that kind of money on our body. We'll spend that kind of money on the car, but no one's going to spend what I spend. I spend $2,000 easily a month getting the right stuff in my body because I had bad genes. First 30 years of my life, I couldn't go up a flight of steps without going into heart failure. I wound up getting so sick that I was having to pee every hour on the hour all night and day. My heart's been skipping for 50 years, 1 beat out of 3. My back pain got so bad I was stooped over, and both hands were going so numb I couldn't sleep at night because of the numbness. So they would obviously love to operate. Carpal tunnel. Everybody's got an operation they want to do. So I teach you with an hour webinar on each of these topics: food, infection, genetics, heavy metal, hormone toxin, and now teaching you the positive, exciting thing, because exercise is good for everything. It's so good, if it was a placebo, we'd be selling it. But you actually now can exercise people who are still in a wheelchair, who are in a hospital bed, with the magnetically induced cell exercise using this device here. We have it in this version with the big wheel, so I can wheel it out to the stable and treat my horse, who my horse now jumps beautifully, 6 and 7 feet. We call it the Grand Prix show jumping horses, and it's all legal. There's nothing illegal about treating your horse or yourself, because this loop, when you sit on it or you put it around your neck or you lean against it, that induces a magnetic field, and your kidney gets younger, or your head gets younger, or your knee gets younger. And they're the same identical machine, but I use the big wheels because I have to treat my horse, because my horse is earning good money because he's on our vitamin C and he's on my zeolite and he's on these treatments. Now this is for the small wheels for the doctor who's got 5 different rooms in one clinic and he wants to go from room to room. And this is for doctors who just put it in one room and treat every patient. There's even a pad the patient can lay on for a 10-minute treatment. But this is when Dr. Pollack from Johns Hopkins really got into studying this stuff, and he studied and written a book about it. So when Dr. Oz became aware that this is the future of medicine and started talking about it, he needed somebody who was a really world-class scientist. So he had Dr. Pollack on his show. I've had Dr. Pollack on my show, and it's on my website, Gordon Research. You put in his name, and you can get an hour lecture when he tells you all the devices out there, from the $3,000 and $4,000 ones to the $100,000 ones, so you'll understand that there's no one thing that is as versatile is the one that I like, which is the one that's shown here. Dr. Pollack is shown here with the amazing thing that we call PMT 100. But he's trying to tell you that these magnetic fields can change the health of our nation. The problem is these things right now cost $20,000. They're not cheap to keep these things turning out, and they lease for $500 a month. But obviously, if we get to the point that people used to go to get suntan parlors, which nobody would do today, I hope, but if we get to the point that we have magnetic spas, where that people won't have to own these things, but right now I have enough sick people that if you walk to the end of your driveway and you look, you'll have an arthritis patient across the street, an MS patient down the hill a little bit, somebody up the hill will have cancer, and if you talk to them, show this research, maybe 4 people go together and pay $125 a month collectively, and you all have access, because you only need really 10 minutes twice a week to change lives. So Dr. Pollack wrote a book explaining that no matter what the diagnosis, we don't care if it's cancer, edema, endometrium, we don't care what it is, the electrons that you get out of this treatment are going to help everything from making your brain younger to making your breast healthier to letting your liver work better. And so the interesting thing is that when you're hooked to this loop and I put it around your neck, your arms start moving. And that means that I'm exercising you even if you're sitting in the wheelchair. So my point of this slide is that they agree that exercise is so powerful, that it does so much good, and they keep researching it. And this year they decided that part of the reason it works is because it produces nitric oxide. But when you read the slides, PEMF turns on nitric oxide too. So it's pretty nice to know that you're on the same wavelength. And so people who just say, I can't exercise, I got a broken leg, how do you expect me to exercise a broken leg? Well, we'll do it for you with PEMF. So exercise is so powerful that it should be in the headlines, because they've shown that it would reduce the risk of breast cancer 40%, bowel cancer 50%, prostate cancer 57% lower. So exercise is always going to make you live longer, even if you have brain cancer. In fact, if you look at the study, they went from living 13 months to 21 months. That's better than any chemotherapy would do for you if you had what Senator Kennedy died of, the glioblastoma. So exercise is kind of basic then, isn't it? But not too many people are aware that this year FDA approved a magnet device, not the PMT 100 that we use for exercise, but they approved one for the treatment of brain cancer. And this week we had a report come out of a very establishment British Journal of Cancer showing that magnetic fields help shrink tumors. And we know that there's the electrical property of cancer cells, so the more we learn about the fact that your membranes need to be fully charged, and of course they can't be fully charged if they don't have the minerals. So you're going to have to take magnesium every single day of your life. I don't care what you're doing, because the minerals, so that's really kind of what we did in the H- that we do. It's got more minerals in it and changes life. But cancer cells thrive when you're in the acidic part of your body. When any part of your body gets acidic, oxygen isn't released from the hemoglobin. The cells start to get really sick. And that low membrane potential starts to cause the cells to give up aerobic metabolism and go to anaerobic, which is another word for cancer. So obviously, if you thought you were starting a cancer in your right calf, if you were lucky enough to get treated with the PEMF, you would bring that calf back to alkaline, and that cancer would go away. It would never develop into the lump bump that I'll show you shortly is the problem with cancer. Cancer's in all of us. We have a blood test now that tells you how much you've got. And when you've got a little bit too much, you may decide to do some of the things that I'm talking about in this lecture and last week and on my website in great detail. But we all agree that inflammation is causing diabetes, Alzheimer's, premature aging, causing cancer, and we now agree pulsed electric magnetic field reduces it. Where does it come from? Well, everybody has an infection. If it's not Candida, chlamydia, it'll be cytomegalic virus. That's right out of Harvard. They say everybody. So we all have these infections, folks. You'd have to watch on my website and read the report. But we have a new product that helps lower the viral load in your body, but we also have oxidative medicine. We do tricks to lower infections and to improve your genetics, but we want you to know that reducing inflammation, one of the big causes of inflammation is the cheap oils that they have seduced our whole nation with by telling us that canola oil was great for us and that we were in great shape with soy oil and corn oil. Olive oil is safe. Butter is safe, and they've attacked it, of course. So if they tell you it's no good, you better look at it closely because it's probably the wrong story. So we even get rid of swollen legs. We change things. We improve heart function, and we get rid of the problem of poor circulation, and we actually cause cells. I've said everybody has a sick thyroid because we've got fluoride in our water and bromine in our bread. So when you're eating bromine, when you're eating bread, you're getting poison from much more than just the gluten. And of course, the gluten is way up higher in the bread than it should be. So yeah, it's nice that I take all my products so I can actually eat bread and not go into some of the problems that my friends. I have some friends with 2 mouthfuls of food, they'll gain 10 pounds of water or go into asthma. So it's really astonishing how food sensitive we've become as a nation. But we have ways to regenerate your body. And this is a person who was burned with the radiotherapy for their cancer, and in 2 weeks we had it almost half gone with just a couple of treatments. This is a dog that they said after was attacked by a huge dog, and the vet said, we'll have to cut your dog's leg off. It's never going to be saved. It's down to the bone. Just cut the leg off. They decided to try our PEMF, and we did it every other day, and we did it on the hip for 8 minutes, and then we wind up with the dog still having its leg. So we started out about cancer, and I said that there's a friend of mine, Dr. Kobayashi. He's an MD, PhD, molecular biologist. Then he became a pathologist. Then he became an oncologist. I say all that so that you need to know that any oncologist you're seeing who says, oh, I don't believe anything the guy says, would be better if he was his peer. It would be better if whoever you're talking to was also a molecular biologist. That would be a PhD. And then it actually studied the field of pathology and became a pathologist, and then went back and became an oncologist, because this man got the Sun Moon Church to help him get patients to do his blood test once a year for 10 years, into about 10,000 people. And during those 10 years, his tumor marker combination assay, which I'll show you in a second, which any one of you could get if you happen to live in Tokyo for a lousy $500. I can do a test that's very much like it at caprofile.net for about $400, and it's with email Chandel at the American Metabolic Testing Laboratories in Hollywood, Florida, and the address is caprofile.net to learn more. But the point of having a test is, most people say, well, why would I want to know if I have cancer? Well, the reason you want to know is just like we now have a brand new EKG that tells you for sure, without an angiogram, without going to a hospital, with no risk of killing you. We have a new EKG that's read by a supercomputer, and it will tell you for sure if there's anything in your heart that's worthwhile being concerned about, because obviously still most people die of heart disease. So if I do this simple test, no big deal, I can reverse what's ever wrong, and the test will get well. So it takes 3 minutes, costs you about $350 or so. And that's really pretty exciting, and that's called premierheart.com. But we're now back to cancer. In cancer, the only way I can really keep you alive is to get you aware that you are mortal and that we all have cancer all the time. So if you look at his discovery, was that he wanted to find out if you spend time in a sauna, you use some negative ions, you use some conventional treatment when you need it, but can we take you and take everybody and lower the tumor burden so they live longer? And he's been able to show that in Japan, the average patient at age 74 is going to spend about $140,000 dealing with their cancer, and they actually, without his program, would not do so well. But with this test, it's possible that some patients would have been kept alive free of cancer for at least 20 years for a lousy $20,000. So the point is this. You wait till you have the tumor and you suddenly say, oh my God, this pancreas cancer, it's everywhere. Don't jump off a bridge. We're doing very well with lipoic acid and low-dose naltrexone. We're doing good with pancreatic cancer, but you have to learn about it. And the internet's got too much information. They almost get lost, so you may have to do a phone consultation with me, because with my 3,000 members of my discussion group, I tend to stay on top of this story pretty accurately. So this is the bottom line of the story. All of us have cancer, but we don't know it for 7 years until finally we have a lump bump. And so for those years, you're considered preclinical. Nobody knows where the tumor is yet. It could be in your prostate, could be in your lung, could be in your brain. But the point is that we are all walking around all the time with cancer. So it's nice if you do this test. CEA, IAPR, and FT. This is a ferritin test in heat-sensitive shock protein, CA19-9. These tests alone, if these tests start to go to these numbers here, mean that you are getting very close to the lump bump. And so obviously we want to take everybody with these numbers and bring them back to those numbers, because then you go on for 20 years and you don't have to die and spend $140,000. So this is kind of interesting. And so this is a single case of a patient who was told, as most of you should be told, that they always kind of make a big deal and say, I think I got it all. That's nonsense. They can't get it all. There's no surgeon in the world that can get it all. That is nonsense, because cancer is a systemic disease. Systemic means taking the prostate out isn't going to change anything. We proved that. Johnson & Johnson has a new test that actually finds the cancer cell in your bloodstream by taking blood from your arm. And so we have all these people who are told, oh, if you take your prostate out, you'll be fine. And if we do this Johnson & Johnson test, which your insurance pays for, about a $600 test, if we wind up doing that test and we see the prostate cancers are actually going through the blood supply in your arm, then you know they've lied to you when they said all I have to do is take your prostate out. Because it's a systemic disease, so you better treat the body, which is what I do when I have everybody do their gene test and learn my fight them with mice program. But in any event, this is a good story. This patient was told that his colon cancer was very likely to come back. And so what he did is he did these tests that I just showed you. And so he took a really serious colon cancer that had a life expectancy of about 2 years. He kept him alive for 12 years because he was doing these tests. And this is the names of the test again. And the one we do in America is based on this, HCG and phosphohexoisomerase, CA. So these are all tests that anybody can do, but the insurance isn't going to pay for them unless you already have the diagnosis, cancer. So you're going to spend that $400 out of your own pocket in most cases. But the ultrasensitive HCG has been very helpful to me along with thermography, and I never let any of my patients have mammograms. They're a ripoff, a total ripoff. They're just going to increase how much breast cancer you have. That is the wrong test. Just do a thermograph, and if your thermograph doesn't look healthy or you really want to prevent it, do the caprofile.net test. Now this is one of the many clinics, because if I send you to Germany, you'll be in Clinic St. George with Dr. Dawes. If I send you to Japan, you'll be working with Dr. Kushi. But this is to show you that if you've just gone to Mexico, or now we're doing this kind of care, actually with Dr. Leanne Canili, and she's doing this kind of care in the Laguna area of California. This is to show you that if you were treated by somebody else with your advanced breast cancer, standard therapy, you would actually have this length of lifespan, and with the alternative therapy, we would be 22 points higher. If you had advanced prostate cancer, again, we would beat standard therapy every time. So all of this talks about how many additional years do you get to live. So what we're saying is that the people with advanced stage breast cancer, we're not saying that we cure everybody and that you live for 50 years. But what we're letting you know, if you're lucky enough to be working with your body, and believe me, these statistics are all before we brought fight them with mice out. So this is just letting you know what we could do. Now we will clearly do far better, as you'll understand, because I'll have you have this kind of energy so that you can make things fly. And this is what you take. The Zeogold to tie up the toxins and neutralize the toxins in your bloodstream. You take the most advanced form of oral vitamin C known to the world, because it has MSM and trimethylglycine and ribose and methylsulfone, and across the board even all the essential sugars, and I'll show you that in a few more slides. And then we've now been able to find another way to get electrons, because you can't all be lucky enough to find somebody who has a PEMF machine in your town. So you may not be able to get 10-minute treatments twice a week, which those 10-minute treatments twice a week have taken autistic kids, have them talking, have got people out of wheelchairs, have got Parkinson's stuff. So 10 minutes twice a week is pretty good, but when you're old like I am at 77, I prefer having access to my own machine where I treat myself 10 minutes minimum every day, because I was losing my brain power. I wasn't able to remember everything, and my prostate was getting me up at night to pee a lot, and I was having really advanced osteoporosis. I know with the PMF I increased bone density 1% a month, and my jaw, I've never been so free of pain. I enjoy jogging. I've been so stiff all my life. I can't believe that at age 77 I'm finally getting young, and I repeat it. I show you in a minute. I take everything, but this is to have you understand, this is my detox drink, and it's going to have hydrogen in it. And its hydrogen is what Sven Gorgi, who was the actual guy who discovered vitamin C, he actually said vitamin C is important, but hydrogen, because that's, and I didn't understand, it was over my head, but now I'm beginning to understand with the new book by Claude Swanson, all these things make sense. Hydrogen is the most needed nutrient you need. So that little tablet that I'm showing you, H- can change your life. So we won't dwell on it more than to tell you that it's the hydrogen ion that can keep your body in the alkaline range so that the blood cells will release the oxygen to that black toe or that brain that's not thinking because you can't remember where you put your car keys. So the point is the hydrogen works on many ways, and it helps maintain this gradient so that every cell has to act like a fully charged battery. And this is the membrane, and the membrane is what I told you I can measure when I measure your malondialdehyde. And I find that this membrane, which is made out of cholesterol, so they tell you it's the bad stuff, so, in phospholipids. And so anyhow, the membrane, when it's breaking down, and I measure it in your urine, and now the new test in your air, I can tell you how fast you are tearing apart the key part of your body, the membrane of every cell. So they have a game going. They're going to tell you, oh, if your heart's skipping beats, sure it's skipping beats because your heart's not getting the magnesium, the oxygen, it's not getting what it needs, and it needs the magnetic field. And so I actually been sleeping on a magnetic pad sold by Magnetico Sleep for $3,600, 400 pounds of magnets between my top and bottom mattress, but that didn't stop my back pain or stop my heart from skipping beats or get my kidney to come back to life, but it prevented me from going downhill. So for some people that may be a great idea. Go to magneticosleep.com. But what I'm telling you is that in this simple sentence, what they're doing to stop your heart from skipping beats is like kindergarten, and what I'm doing is like Learjet. And all I'm telling you is this: do my detox drink, because that H-, we're actually having such dramatic results that some people, instead of taking just one of the H- pill in a bottle of water and putting the cap on and letting it bubble and then drinking that water, are putting it in a small bottle, and they're doing that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. Some people are actually taking the actual tablet that releases hydrogen, because hydrogen is working in this area of electron deficiency, and not everybody's going to be able to get a PMF, so we're getting some pretty good stuff. But this is the active H-, and when you drop the tablet in a bottle with a lid on it, because you want to catch that hydrogen, you want to force that hydrogen into. So I don't care if you use a bottle this size. You could have a small bottle this size and just put that in the bottle and just have that small amount of water with this. Though you can't get too much hydrogen. But if you didn't have a lid on, most of it will be going out in the air. So I want these electrons in you. And so you'll get the idea that we can prove that these tablets are doing miraculous things. And this is just exercise alone. If you're on the hydrogen, you don't build up that lactic acid. So if you're an athlete, you'll go further. And this is to prove that it would increase survival. So the active H- is a key part of what I've done after having built the best vitamin C that actually most doctors have never taken more than 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. And Linus Pauling always said you need 12 to 18,000. So we have 4,000 in a teaspoon, and you get the Bioenergy C, 1 teaspoon, 3 times a day, and you will do miracles. But you still won't be up to the level of 100 grams in the vein of IV, which would cost you money. But certainly is helping patients with cancer, in my estimation, far better than any of the chemo anybody's giving you or the radiation. I wouldn't use radiation at all on any cancer patient, but that's I just happen to be having worked in radiology. You couldn't pay me enough. So anyhow, to be radiated. You know, we've been proven that it's not helping all the breast cancer patients. It's such a ripoff. So anyhow, when we look at what's going on here, I just want to make it very clear that this is a great way to do it, but the zeol gold is where a lot of my tricks are buried, because zeolite, which nobody in this country seems to know anything about, we've used it historically for years, but it's available for $100 a ton if you want a cat litter, or you might spend more like $500,000 a ton if you want it as the ultimate filter, because you're planning a trip to Mars, and you may on the trip to Mars have to carry no water, so you'll be recycling your own sweat and urine. You may want a good filter. That's why NASA looked at the kind of zeolite that I put into this product, but that's not all that's in here. But why is it important? Because it changes the water in your body, and your body is over 80% water. So when I do this zeolite, I am tying up the bad stuff that's in your water, so your body from the beginning is operating more efficiently, because I can't get all the lead out of your bones unless you're on oral chelation for 15 years. And I love IV chelation, and I wish everybody would get some IV chelation from my thousands of colleagues. We now have it as a 5-minute treatment called calcium-mediated, but that can't alone solve the problem, because you've got to do something every day, because you have so many toxins, and zeolite ties those toxins up, neutralizing them, so you won't be wasting the electrons you're spending your money on. When you take vitamin C and H minus, I'm giving you electrons, and you get a PEMF treatment, I'm giving you electrons, but I need those electrons to be not challenged by the oxidants, which are the dioxins, PCBs, lead, cadmium, mercury, that's in everybody. And I don't care if you've had, I had 200 IV chelation. I had 100 treatments with oxidative treatments using things like ultraviolet blood and ozone, or even IV peroxide. The point is this: you can't afford all that. And so I'm trying to make it so you understand a unifying concept, so you can learn from what's brought me at age 77 to being the healthiest I've been in my life, so I can share this knowledge with more people. But part of it is in this little product, zeol gold, there's humic acid, and there is the all-R form of lipoic acid, and there's glutathione in addition to the most advanced form of zeolite. So we'll go through those rapidly because it's getting late. I don't want to wear you out. So this is the label to show you there's glycine, there's rooibos, there's a lot in that zeol gold, but not in big enough quantities. You still got to take the bioenergy C. You will be absolutely, provably keeping patients alive with vitamin C alone. If they don't even understand the H minus, they won't do you're going to extend the lifespan. I'm just trying to teach you how you can do more, because we know nothing was quite as good as the IV. So I have to try to make it work as good as the IV, because most of us can't find a doctor that will give you IV vitamin C, and it's certainly not covered by your insurance, and the FDA is trying to make it illegal. They're trying to say it's a new drug. You can't believe what's going on. So this is the American Chemical Society. This is their handbook on zeolite, and it explains to you why it is the ultimate filter. There's nothing to compete with it. So I want it in your intestine at all times, because your intestine is loaded with bad stuff, because the food and water and air is all going through our body, and it's helping kill us. So I need something to filter it out. And these are the little tiny openings that are in this zeolite, which is like a sponge, but it's a sponge that's got the right kind of negative charge to grab all the lead and the cadmium and the other stuff. So this is medical applications. By the way, just go to the Sloan Kettering and put in the word zeolite. You'll see what's going on, because in Croatia we are using this to treat cancer very successfully, and you'll learn more. So the medical applications is the last chapter in the book I just showed you. In the book, the Handbook of Zeolite is available on Amazon for $250, 1,200 pages, or just go free of charge. They'll let you read the pages. Go to page 1141 and you'll read all about the anti-cancer and other medical applications. Now, there's still so many other things you have to do to really win the cancer thing, and my good friend, who I really respect, Russell Blaylock, as a board-certified neurosurgeon, has the Blaylock Report. You can just Google his name. He's written extensively about the need for detoxification, the danger of vaccines, the danger of the excitotoxins, the aspartame that's in all those low-calorie beverages that are killing our nation. And he's really written a lot about how nutrition can help you in simple things like quercetin, which I take every day. There's so much that I take every day. But the thing is, to learn all this, his writing is very good, and if you read what he's taking, you will never go without your vitamin E, even though they attack it. We obviously have fancier vitamin E today, like the tocotrienols, that are dramatically helping things like advanced cancer, and that's one of the ingredients. There's a lot. The devil's in the details. So I admit that when I do these for patients, that everybody needs N-acetylcysteine. It's like the poor man's glutathione. There's all lipoic acid. If you're taking 200-300 milligrams a day, it's going to help you. If you're in trouble, then you want the all-R form, and we have the all-R form. But there's so much to learn. But flavonoids like quercetin are all going to change your life the more you learn about. Even eating celery has got powerful things in it. And then you listen to Bharat Agarwal, and you read his name on curcumin. He has got 500 references of how turmeric, the spice, if we just start spicing our food, we will cut down dramatically the amount of cancer in our body, and it will enhance the production of glutathione in your body. And glutathione is nature's own way of solving the problem of a poisoned nation that we are, poisoned planet. And Dr. Berkson is doing beautiful things with the lipoic acid, and he's trying to tell you that pancreatic cancer with widespread metastasis that everybody else would die in 2-3 months without question are sometimes going into complete remission. So there's a lot to learn about all these things. And if you just took the lipoic acid that's in the Zeogold every day of your life, a capsule, you have to open the capsule of Zeogold and put it in water. Everything that goes the detox drink all has to be put into water when you drink it. The vitamin C, the H minus, and the Zeogold. But these one is 13, the other is 3. But they've been giving the animal a good dose of the all-R lipoic acid, so it is truly an anti-aging approach. And it truly helps reverse the damage from all the oxidants that are trying to kill us, the bisphenol A and all of the problem from the other toxins, DDT, that's in everybody. So lipoic acid is an amazing thing. We put humic acid in it, and humic acid has things like fulvic acid, and it carries minerals that your body needs, and it makes the zeolite much more powerful on neutralizing the bad guys. So the humates are in the Beyond product, and in addition to that, we have put in the Beyond Bioenergy C. That product has all of the glyconutrients for the essential sugars that are found in aloe vera. And so that really brings in some really nice things, but the product Bioenergy C has MSM. Again, I told you 40% of people are not getting enough methyl, which is why I want you on the methyl B12 and the methylfolic acid if you want to have your memory when you're 80 and 90 and 100 years of age. And the ribose actually takes people in heart failure and feeds the heart through a different pathway, but it helps us carry the vitamin C into the cell. So this book is trying to explain to you, but written by Les Backer, one of our most famous scientists with Bruce Ames, is trying to explain to you the complicated story of how things work. Because just because you buy a cheap vitamin C doesn't mean it's going to do what the Bioenergy C. There isn't a form of, the Bioenergy C is a total vitamin C delivery system because it has the ribose and the trimethylglycine and the methylsulfonomethane and the essential sugars from aloe vera. So nobody competes with that. But it's trying to explain to you here that it's trying to get it into the cell, because when vitamin C is inside of the cancer cell, it becomes hydrogen peroxide, and it causes the cancer cell to explode and kill itself. So this book, Curing the Incurable, gives you 1,200 references that you need to know, because if you don't buy this book, it's just worthwhile having. I've written the foreword to the book for Dr. Levy. He's a cardiologist, attorney, brilliant guy, and we have competing ideas on what's the best form of vitamin C, but he's trying to show people that vitamin C is documented. It would have stopped polio in the people. It was stopping polio. It would stop tetanus if you didn't get the tetanus right. So it's important to know it stops flu. I mean, but I'm teaching how to make it even more powerful with adding the H minus and the Zeogold, so you don't have to run and get it in the IV. But if you can get IV, anybody who's in trouble, try to have a relationship with one of my doctors, acam.org or ISM, International College of Integrative Medicine, or the American College for Integrative Medicine, ACIM. Any of these are doctors that will offer you IV vitamin C, which I love. And we need to know that it's safe for cancer patients, but the FDA is going to try to take it away, of course. Anything that's good, they don't want to have it. So if we look at Dr. Hoffer, who was one of my mentors, He was one of the first orthomolecular physicians, world-famous psychiatrist treating schizophrenia and getting them all to stop hearing voices using niacin. But he showed you that if you took the right kind of vitamins, instead of dying in 2 months, 2.6 months, people were living 45 months. And he tried to tell you what to take. Get vitamin C, 12,000 a day. That would be 3 teaspoons, 1 teaspoon morning, noon, and night, slightly heaping, Bioenergy C. Put it in water and drink it, and you will see these kind of changes. We need more A. We need more B complex. We all have to be on 5,000 D. We all need more selenium. We all need more zinc. We all need coenzyme Q. You need to be on curcumin. This is all just obvious, absolute obvious. And so we do know that high doses of vitamin C, being probably by the proceeding of the National Academy of Science, high enough doses of C help kill all of the cancer cells, breast, kidney, lymphomas, melanomas. And so vitamin C, if you add vitamin K to it, becomes even more interesting. And so you can read this at your leisure. So I'm just telling you that I like to have my cancer patients on melatonin, quercetin, curcumin, vitamin D. It's all part of the trick. So I can't just do a study and tell you how much additional benefit if you take vitamin K2, but I don't go a day of my life without taking a vitamin K2 morning and night, because I know that for me to remain young, I have to have soft arteries when I'm 90, and I have to have hard bones. And that's a key part of my anti-aging, which you'll learn more about. So we do know that vitamin C slows the growth of tumors, and we do know that if you add some vitamin K to it, it does even better things. And we do know there's a reason that it's actually being taken up by the tumor. The tumor actually wants sugar, so that's why it's so dangerous to eat all the sugar we eat, because the tumor is a sugar hog. But because it thinks vitamin C is sugar, it takes it up, and it's a Trojan horse, and we get it inside this, which is so important to have it in you. And that's why the IVs are very useful. But I've come as close to the IV as you can come by devising the Bioenergy C product. So we do know that ascorbic acid, which is what Dr. Cathcart, he was the first one to keep all the AIDS patients alive. He made them take 100 grams or more a day of vitamin C, because the 10 grams, that's something most doctors, they didn't even know that we have one that you can take without upsetting your stomach. That's what we had to do. Most vitamin C tears up your stomach. You live in the bathroom with a lot of gas and diarrhea. So we had to solve that. So that was solved. You work slowly into it, and you can even have your dogs and your animals stay alive. There isn't anybody that can't be benefited, even though dogs and horses make vitamin C. My show-jumping horse is on zeolite and is on vitamin C, because vitamin C does much more than they're telling you. That just because an animal makes it, that doesn't mean it's anywhere near enough to live on a poisoned planet. So as you start to see, what Dr. Cathcart is telling you then is that it took big doses to do all the magic things that he was doing, because he was keeping all the AIDS patients from dying. So we need to have you understand that there are many factors that are involved in how to make vitamin C work optimally. Like, are you getting some polyphenols? In other words, everybody's talking about resveratrol and the good things that are in plants. Plants and vegetables keep us alive. And we know that you need polysaccharides, so we put in my Beyond Chelation Improved. The reason nobody dies of a blood clot is I have a sulfated mucopolysaccharide that I get from the ocean, and I put it in the Beyond Chelation Improved, and it replaces heparin. So everybody that's on my program, which starts with the foundation being Beyond Chelation Improved, 9 pills morning and night, where you will get a primrose and an omega-3, and you'll get a phosphatidylserine ginkgo, and you'll get a multiple that's got everything in it, and you'll have 3 capsules that we spent $10 million with Lester Morrison proving that we could eliminate fatal heart attacks, because we could change the stickiness of blood. So there's a lot to these things that we're talking about, and it all comes together. But you need to know that it's the devil is in the details. So obviously I am convinced by the fact that we have not had a phone call at Longevity Plus. So we have employees that have been there over 10 years, and they'll tell you no one ever has called that somebody on the BCI 9 pills twice a day has ever called and said, Dad died or a patient died with a heart attack or stroke. We haven't had one. So we think we're doing something right. Nobody else can make anything like that claim, but we know why. Because we're thinning the blood. So that's a part of the, because the blood is thin. If it's like tomato ketchup, you don't get blood to your toe or your brain cell or your eye. That's why you go blind with macular degeneration. So it's all tied together. So here's the proof of all the diseases. Those people who have the highest level of vitamin C in your blood, but that costs money to do, are going to have the lowest incidence of any of the disease, whether it's cancer, heart disease, anything. And so by adding vitamin K2, it works even better. Apatone is being investigated right now and is actually applying, in spite of our FDA's rather negative attitude, they're actually applying to study bladder cancer using vitamin K and vitamin C. Since you're not part of that study, and it's not going to go easy because there's a lot of people that don't want vitamin C. They don't want anything that threatens their status quo, their income from the drugs they push on us poor, unsuspecting humans. But here's one that you can handle yourself. If you buy this stick, which is 20 cents a stick, you need to buy $10 worth, test all your loved ones, and if that stays green when they make it wet with their urine and it doesn't within a minute turn yellow, they have a dark future. Now, the world's made out of dark matter. They think the universe is 90% dark matter, but I don't want you and I having a dark future. So I want you to have a bright future, and the way to do that is to take a teaspoon 3 times a day, which is enough to keep that yellow color, whether I test you at midnight or I test you at 7 in the morning when you get up. I want you there, and you then will have a bright future in all the cancer clinics, including Dr. Dowers with the Clinic St. George in Bad Aibling, Germany, a good friend of mine who does great work with cancer, or the really great clinic called the Reardon Clinic for Human Functioning, and it's in Wichita, Kansas, and they specialize in treating cancer patients with vitamin C, and they use a lot of this product because they know that this product lets anybody get to that color, and many of the other vitamin C's will make your stomach upset and you won't be able to stay that color morning, noon, and night with as little as a teaspoon 3 times a day. It's admittedly a vitamin C delivery system. It's not just a tablet of vitamin C, so it's much more expensive, but it's life-saving. Malandialdehyde, I mentioned earlier in an earlier slide, is proof of how fast you are rusting away and your cells are being broken down by oxidation because you don't have enough reductants of the electrons. So you haven't learned to do my trick, but I'm going to teach you my trick because it is a proof that you are aging too fast. You're getting macular degeneration. Your skin is aging. Your kidney. So when you have a high number, you have arthritis, you have asthma, you have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, migraine. These are the diseases you have unless you do my program. Now, this tells you that this is all true, and all you have to do is test it in breath. That way you don't have to wait to get a blood test and to go or collect your urine and take it to a lab. So lipid peroxidation tells you how rapidly you are being attacked, and you're not fighting back because you don't have enough of the electrons to protect you from the oxidants that big industry and agriculture have put into our water, food, and air with the thousands of chemicals that are in everybody's bloodstream today. So melandialdehyde is a good way to find out how fast you're tearing apart the membranes of your cells. And it's in your breath, and this is where we're at. If you are in the red zone, you are on fire and you're in trouble, and there are entire populations of people who are living on fast foods or living in extremely unhealthy, unsanitary conditions who are on fire. If you're in the average range, if you're down to 500, which we found quite a few people at the anti-aging conference worth the 500, but I took people who came in at 700 and I was able to bring them down to 550, and nobody has ever done that before with this test. And what did I do? I gave them the detox drink and I treated them with the PEMF. Now, what I'm telling you is that this is a valid test. I'm going to have many of my doctors put it in their practices so that you can blow up that little balloon and you'll know how fast you are aging and going in disease. And then you can work on an organic diet alone will bring you down a little bit. You think some supplements alone will bring you down, whatever you do. But I like to reward you because it costs money to do all the stuff that I do. And most people can't afford to do all the tests that I like because the book Experimental Man by David Ewan Duncan, we did $500,000 worth of tests, and none of you could pass, obviously, because we're a poison population. So the thing is that we have to have something that's affordable that you relate to. So if you're worried about losing your memory, we'll do memory tests. If you're worried about cancer, do cancer tests. Do any test that you're worried about, because if it's heart disease, it's boringly easy. I haven't had a patient die heart attack in so many years that I just cancel bypass on everybody. So what we're trying to do is teach you then that I'm into detoxification, but there are people pointing out that detoxification could be kind of stupid. If you just get given a drug by a doctor who learns nothing, and you tell him, well, my kid's got autism, and I heard mercury might be part of it, and you give him some DMSA, dimethylsuccinic acid, that is a good drug, and it's going to deliver that mercury to the liver, and the liver is going to put it in the bile duct, and it's going to go right into your intestine. But if you don't have in your intestine the substances that I call my detox drink, and later you'll learn more to even handle more things. You'll add things like the green and the maca and the Beyond Fiber, which now becomes my power drink. If you combine all those things, you will have an intestine that is so tough, and then take the acidophilus that I take every single day, and you'll be able to eat anything you want to. Within a few months, you'll have a new intestine. Remember, every 4 months, all your blood cells are completely replaced by new cells. So if you're on my program for 4 months, I've started to replace you. And it takes 15 years to have all new bones. So if you're on my program for 15 years, I've given you a new you with all original factory parts instead of the nonsense they're giving us and calling it food. So what they're saying here is if you detox without understanding that you need to have my EDTA in your intestine at all, and my doctor colleagues tell people oral EDTA doesn't work, and yet on my website you put in the word oral EDTA and there's 507 published papers that people would have to work with lead, for instance, in a battery couldn't work there if they didn't stay on oral EDTA. So I do know what I'm talking about. And oral EDTA is the subject that made Dr. Lester Morrison's $10 million study on his Heart Saver program, where we eliminated fatal heart attacks. But by adding EDTA, we made it into capsules instead of having to take a huge amount of a very unpalatable material that tasted like Metamucil. So we changed the world with EDTA. And it's in your body all the time if you're my patient. So you're going to get some EDTA is in the vitamin C, some EDTA is in the fiber, some EDTA is in the 9 pills I call my Beyondculation. And this is then the picture, and if you add H- to it, now you're really living on something like what I take. This is what I've been taking, and I tell people it's costing me certainly $2,000 a month minimum, but I wouldn't want anybody to not know that as good as this is, and it was good because people looked at me and said, okay, since your brother dies of a heart attack and your father dies of a heart attack and you've got bad genes, your mother dies of a, you know, and my angina first hit me so bad at age 29 I had to close my medical practice. I couldn't go up a flight of steps for most of my life. So all of this is not a waste of time. I'm not willing to stop taking what I took. All of this N-acetylcysteine and taking all these impregnanolone and the lipoic acid. But the point is that taking this, I still have my back pain, my heart skipping pain, beats, my prostate trouble, and so all of that's changed when I added the PEMF. I do consultations and I record them and send you the recordings so that we go over your test results. And if you don't think your doctor will release your medical records without getting mad, then we'll just do some new tests, or we'll go with what you want to do. But it does cost $425 in addition to my $300 fee if you wind up doing a gene test, which will take a month. But I recommend it for anybody that is seriously interested in living to your maximum intended useful lifespan. I am an anti-aging doctor, but we do charge $300 an hour for the consultation unless your doctor is interested and will be on the telephone during the hour. Then I will reduce that fee by 50% so you can pay him to be interested enough to learn, because this is an overview of a DNA test. He's never seen anything like this. There's 72 genes in this. No one has ever put all this together. It used to cost $2,500. Hardly anybody would do it. It's never covered by insurance. But we started out with cancer, and I want you to know Marcus Frederman is my friend, and his Cancer is Curable Now is a great way, if you're already fighting cancer, to learn more about what is out there, because believe me, he's gone to all the clinics and talked to the patients and the doctors so that you'll know. And I did tell you that we have to deal in a lot of people with viral load, and I said FI is infection, and not everybody can get on the ozone and ultraviolet blood. I put everybody on my infection program, and for a short time you take a lot of ACS silver, but if you take also ViroPress, we see dramatic results in things like MS, where we know that some of these infections like herpes 6, etc., these viral things are helping cause the MS. So this, with anything, like if it's patients are even having any problems with hepatitis, we lower the viral load. These are other doctors who are actually excited. This gentleman got his leg so damaged that they thought he wouldn't be able to walk on it, and the PMF is changing his life. And so all of these people, you can learn more by going to Pulse for Life, and the more you learn about how it works, the more you'll understand that anybody, by lowering inflammation, reduces their pain, but we get it so fast that sometimes a frozen shoulder that's facing surgery is free of pain after one 12 to 15-minute visit. Most doctors are charging around $35 for the 10 to 12-minute initial visits. And if you only buy them single visits at a time, they'll be $50, $60. But if you pay prepaid, they get a little cheaper. So this is my wish to you. I wish all of you take this new year as an opportunity. It will be a year of challenge and a year of opportunity. And I wish you would learn more about my fight for health, and I wish you a very healthy and happy life. And joining FACT is free of charge to all health professionals, and most nutritionists and acupuncturists and exercise physiologists and fitness people are clearly health professionals. And by joining, they get 3 emails from me each morning about things that are new and hot that you need to know about. But by having a password, you can study under the word breast cancer or prostate cancer and see what we're doing. And thank you for your attention today. I have one question that has come to me, and it is about earthing. And my good friend, Dr. Steven Sinatra, who loves the PEMF machine because he can't believe what it did to his horse with one visit, is actually the co-author of the book about earthing. And earthing is a wonderful aspect of waking people up to the positive implication of learning physics and learning something about negative ions. It is not working as well as it might work for some people in urban areas, where in many urban areas they use the ground to return the electricity to the power station. But it certainly woke a lot of people up to the importance of learning more about this aspect of physics. I thank you for that question, and we wish all of you a healthy New Year.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. We encourage you to browse Dr. Gordon's website at www.gordonresearch.com and invite health professionals to join FACT, Dr. Gordon's free online school of advanced alternative medicine, where over 3,000 health professionals share ideas, therapies, and alternative protocols. Please visit the ACIM events website at www.acimevents.com and register for their conference on regenerative medicine, taking place in Los Angeles on January 20th, 2012. Dr. Gordon will be speaking live and presenting more exciting information on PEMF. Attendees at the conference will be able to experience the benefits of magnetically induced cellular exercise for themselves with a free therapy session. The products that Dr. Gordon has formulated are available through Longevity Plus. Please visit our website at www.longevityplus.com or call 1-800-580-7587 to place an order. We value all of you and thank you for joining us today.